So what is attribution modelling, Daniel?
So attribution modelling is trying to untangle this thing where I visit your website from a social media platform, for example, and then I leave. Then I come back 3 times from the Google search. Then I come in by directly typing in your website address, and then I convert by meaning that I go through and I carry out the goal that you wanted me to carry out. Attribution modeling is going through and trying to understand how much did that particular interaction contribute towards that end goal.
Right.
And it's really important because otherwise you'd look at this and go, well, they just left after that click. It didn't provide any value. And actually, you wouldn't have got the second and third and fourth clicks if you hadn't have got that in the first place. And it's going beyond last click attribution, which is what a lot of reports and analytics do. They go through and they just look at what you did last. Right. And that's not particularly valuable.
But so how do you monitor this? So how do you get this set up within your analytics?
So within Google Analytics, what you need to have set up, or any analytics, in fact, that offers this, is goals. So they're not set up as standard out of the box. You need to go in and say, this is a goal in Universal Analytics, or as they're called in GA4, a conversion event.
Yeah.
And it's basically the endpoint. It's filling in the lead generation form. It's buying the thing. It might be watching the video to them. Whatever your end desired goal is, you set that up. And then the analytics can go backwards and it can go through and say, this is what they did on the journey there.
Yeah.
And therefore, you can start to untangle that journey and say, okay, what's the value in this as well? In Universal Analytics, what we've got is a whole set of different reports around this, but multi-channel funnels is one of the main reports you get. Right. And it just says this channel was involved in the journey, in what percentage of time. So if 50 people went through and completed my goal, in what percentage of those journeys to that goal was a particular channel involved? Doesn't matter what stage it was just one of the steps. Then what you've got in something like GA4 and in Universal Analytics are these different models. And you can weight different steps. Now, you've got to be careful with this because you might say every step on the journey is equally valued. That's kind of what a multi-channel funnels is doing.
Yeah.
But you could go, the very first thing you did and the very last thing you did and everything else isn't worth very much in between. It's a bit arbitrary though. And that's the risk. You just go, I think the penultimate click before the last one was the most important, and that's where you get all the value kind of thing. Right. You might say, and there is actually a model that says this, the last Google Ads click was the most important one. Oh, look, Google Ads is really valuable now.
That's the one Google Ads uses.
Yeah,
exactly.
I wonder why.
Yeah, so you've got to be careful. I just like linear. I like to go through and say linear. Now, with GA4, they have got a machine learning algorithm that takes into account a whole host of different factors and tries to work out which are the steps that really seem to be contributing value, because that seems to be a common thread on your site and on other people's site as well. So be aware, if you're starting out, start linear. Just go for attribution, linear attribution, so you can see, look, was this particular channel involved in the journey?
Yeah.
And then when you get a bit more into it, you might start using the machine learning based models and things like that as well.
I think the new machine learning model within GA4 really interesting, because actually what that attempts to do is to look at the overall journey and work out which was the most important one, and it will reattribute things slightly, and it's able to take into account thousands of different data points within that. So maybe it noticed, well, the last click you did before that final click where you converted, well, was it important or not? Well, actually, they only spent 15 seconds there, so probably not. Mm-hmm. Whereas somebody that spent 4 or 5 minutes, only 2 days earlier could be. And it's quite interesting, but it's the reason why when you try and compare your old Universal Analytics reports with the new GA4 ones, they're massively out. People are like, wait, what? Why is that? Well, it's because it's got this, smart technology behind it. And it's come under a lot of criticism, I think, from a lot of marketers. They're very frustrated that they don't know exactly how it works, because it's not, it's not that black and white. It's not if this, then that. It's using everything it knows to make some smart decisions. But certainly everything I've seen, I've been following a lot of marketers that have been testing this out. And actually, if you do it with small data sets, you can sort of begin to see why it's made searches, and actually it's making some good decisions. And that for me, that's kind of cool, because actually on the one hand, I don't like the fact that I can't see how it works, a bit black box. And is it gaming things in? No, it doesn't seem to be any evidence that it is at the moment. It's actually trying to be quite fair and kind of arbitrate on all of these things. And I think, it's smart. That's what we're really trying to do when we're applying these different attribution models. There's a lot of people out there say, well, you sort of need to pick the attribution model that's the least wrong. And I think that's quite a good way of looking at it. But for me, when you start getting, AI involved to help you like sort out the wood from the trees, that's really nice. And I know this from experience, like at board level. Oh, it's so hard to sell in the whole multi-attribute.
Yeah.
It depends which model we're looking at, and they just tell me the answers, like what worked and what didn't. And I think that's why potentially, these AI models will start to really sort that out.
Yeah, and I think that all of these tools allow you to compare models and say, here's a machine learning based version, here's this linear. Let's count the steps the same. What does it say about search optimization? Does that, my organic search, is it more valued or less valued? And you can look at what it's doing and saying, oh, it's really upweighting organic search, or it's upweighting direct traffic. That seems fair. Whereas if it was upweighting Google Ads by 4,000%, you might go, that's slightly suspicious.
Yeah.
And it's not doing that, is the point. So I think we can use these. They're not perfect, which is what everyone's hoping for. As Kieran says, and often says, you're trying to measure the least wrong thing, which I think is a really great way of talking about it. But actually, it will help you untangle the journey. We just need to set our goals up. And if we do that, we start to get some real insights into the user journey.
And we definitely need to start to move away from everything just relying on last click. Because what you'll find is that, if you're trying to be really data-led and all you're looking at is last click, you get certain channels they're kind of like goal-hanging channels, like your AdWords and your affiliate programs. They've all got incentives and they're catching you at that moment. Of course, they're going to get a lot of traffic. If that's all you're looking at, you're just going to funnel more and more money into that. Well, wait, how did everybody, even in AdWords, like your most profitable campaign will be your brand campaign. So what, did 1 million people just wake up and think, oh, I know, I'll search from this brand? No, that would be all the other stuff that you've been doing.
Yeah, there's a lot of behind the scenes that goes on.
Totally. So I think, I think it's moving in some smarter directions. I think it's really important that we all get behind these things and understand what it is that we're actually looking at, and definitely move beyond that last click, because there could be some of your channels could be really feathering your nest and making people aware, so that further down their user journey they convert. If you don't have those, it is a funnel. People don't jump in from the side; they come from the top down. So if we're not, maximizing and putting effort and energy into those top of funnel activities, we're not going to get the good stuff lower down. So actually, it's about coming at this from all stages of the funnel, and that's why you can begin to use lots of different, attribution. You look at it: first click, last click, linear models. And that kind of fries your brain a bit, but there are now solutions that will help us give you kind of one source of truth that you can really focus on.
And just as a kind of final point with this is that actually, if you're doing this, you're ahead of most people, because if it's sounding a bit intimidating, I think it does put people off a little bit. But actually, if you do this, you'll be getting into the data and exploring it in a more proactive way than most people are. And therefore, you're more likely to spend your budget in the right places. So go off, take a look at those attribution reports, make sure you set your goals up, and you'll get a lot more from your analytics.
Please subscribe for more videos like this and visit targetinternet.com for more free digital marketing resources.